Okay, so in this video, we're going to be seeing how the price of the small house, which was very high price, changed the model once we remove it from the database. So which is the fact that this single observation is doing to our whole model. So what I want you to observe right now is that if we make the graph from the regression, the actual database, price and size, fitted linear, here we have again our model. So we already knew that we have an increment of $94.45 thousand per every 1,000 square feet increment, and the level of explanation was 59.4%, 0.5%. So what happens if we remove this observation, this unusual observation we have here? So in order for us to find out that unusual observation, I'm going to be clicking here on Minitab, and it is telling me that it is on row 724. So here we have row 724, and I'm going to be selecting both of them and delete the cells. So they have disappeared, and it is already telling me that they are not using the current data. So I'm going to be refreshing it through another regression fitted line plot. And here is what we have. So if we compare these two graphs, which are two different models, one of them just taking out the initial observation of a small house with a very big price or high price, what we are observing is that super fast we can observe that the determination level or the level of explanation incremented 2% just by taking out that single observation. So we increased from 59.5% all the way to 61.9%. So it's almost 2% of increment. It's 1.6% of increment just by one observation out of how many that we had? 1,063. So that's the effect of a single point, 2% of explanation increment. Why? Because that single point was not behaving like the rest of the information. So it was behaving very different. So that single point can change everything on the regression. Another point that is very important is that at this moment we had an increment of $94.45 thousand per unit, 1,000 increment in the size. But now that we remove this small house with a very big price, which was saying that the increment of sizes of the houses was not as big as it should be, by removing it, the size incremented from $94.45 thousand to $95.30 thousand. It was almost an increment of $1,000 in the price of the house. Why it is incrementing? It is incrementing because this small house with a high price wasn't allowing us to see how high is actually or how much is actually the price incrementing by every single 1,000 increment in the size of houses. So having a small value with a very high price is not allowing us to see how big is actually the increment in the prices of houses. On the next video, we're going to be seeing what happens when we have a very big house with a very low price and how it is changing the actual value of the slope. So see you in the next video.